guess has everyone been here before? Or
No.
No. So, just to get a little quick background, the first vines were planted here in 1983, and our first commercial vintage was in 1985. We've obviously been producing ever since. The owner here is John Graziano, who was Commissioner of Commerce for New York State, Commissioner of Agriculture, New York Power Authority, also a deputy mayor with Rudolph Giuliani, and is also an owner of Williams Winery in Sonoma, in the Russian River, California, vineyard land in the Central Coast, and property in Tuscany, Villa Pilo. All the wines are available here for sale, and all very good wines from 3 different properties. We can take a walk over and we'll go look at some of the new vines, or the new growth between Chardonnay and Cabernet Franc. We had a real early bud break this year, about 3 weeks early, and have just gotten through just about a full month of worries with cold nights and potential frost damage on the new growing shoots. Fortunately, because we're on these hillsides, we got through these frosts without any significant damage. We had just maybe a couple shoots down the bottom area that were killed or lost to the frost, but an insignificant amount. What happens with cold air, both in the winter and in the spring, cold air is heavier than the warmer air, which is usually up above. And what happens on these hillsides is that cold air acts kind of like water. It drains, because it's heavier, it drains down the hills and settles in the lower area. So we've got a real good site here to help us get through these kind of events, these spring frosts. Usually isn't a problem, but seems to be becoming more of an issue over the last 5 years, where we've had warmer winters, the ground and the soil warms up earlier in the spring, and the vines have been getting going a little bit earlier each year, it seems like, and then when that happens, you're susceptible for potentially a longer period to these late frosts. It's all new in the Hudson Valley to grow vinifera grapes, and we had a bit of a learning curve with the rootstocks we use for the vines, and also what varieties would grow here. We were really kind of like an experiment station here at Millbrook. We had 30 different varieties planted, several different rootstocks, so we really learned a lot. One of the things we learned was that there are really only 2 or 3 rootstocks that work well in the Northeast. And what happens when you have rootstocks that don't work well is they keep the vines growing later into the fall, and the vines are kind of struggling to ripen the fruit and ripen the canes so that they're hardy enough to make it through the winter. And in this block, we lost several vines because of the rootstock they were put on, and winter damage that has accumulated over the 25 years. Trellis, L-Y-R-E, Lyra, they say in France. We call it the goblet here. So it's a divided canopy, which we did in this area, these first few blocks, because there was a lot of fertility and vigor in the soil. This originally was a dairy farm, and these first 2 fields were where the cows spent a lot of their time before they went in to be milked and when they came out. So there's a lot of manure in these fields, a lot of nitrogen, organic matter, And originally we had the vines planted just on a single vertical trellis, but there was too much shading within the vine, too much growth, so we realized we had to spread it out and divide. The spring frost, there are things you can do. You can have overhead sprinklers that run overnight when there's a threat of frost and build up a coating of ice on the vines, and that insulates them. Right? You can have frost fans, which are overhead fans that are up maybe 25 feet above, and kind of like a big propeller that brings the warmer air down from above and blows the cooler air out. Those are the two main ways. Some of the farms in the area, apple growers mainly, that were also threatened by these frosts, sometimes bring in helicopters to fly over the orchards at night, and that does the same thing, mixes the air.